The only thing that comes in my mind when I see this card is Taco Bell. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was on the menu in the late 90s when they had that little chihuahua as a spokesman.
Viva Gorditas!
Is it worth it?
Alright, you goobers, you know the drill. Strange Supreme is a 2 energy, 2 power card that says gains +2 power from merging. End of turn, merge one of your created cards into this. So to be honest, I didn't really think much of this card when I first saw it, but I'm an idiot. And I thought about it for more than like 5 seconds and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty easy to grow and get big. It's gonna be a big card. Just to give you a dumb example, Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl does create squirrels in which Strange Supreme would eat and get +3 power. That's crazy. I mean, Squirrel Girl plus Strange Supreme is 5 power. That's not bad already. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I think this card is going to be the new old Angela. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, the new scaling card that gets really big and probably gets nerfed in the future. And then nerfed again because they actually don't know how to fix the card. What do you guys think? Let's take a look. So the first 2 comments here are going to touch on the same thing because honestly, I don't know the answer. But Burnock here says, a great 2-cost answer versus annoying Claw decks can easily fit in a lot of decks. Yeah, it can easily fit into a lot of decks, a surprising amount. But as far as an answer to annoying Clog decks, I don't know, because it does say your created cards. Now, does that mean a card on your side of the board qualifies as yours? I think so. So if that's the case, yeah, then it is an answer to Clog decks. But honestly, people are putting way too much into the fact that it can absorb like a rock or a goblin or something. Do you really want to absorb a goblin with it? It's a net -1 power, so I'm not really sure about the whole Clog deck thing. And related to that, we have Lauren whatever, great follow on Twitter, does a lot of math, make brain hurt. She says actually a shitty Clog counter because he can't eat the hood, Titania, or goblins, and doesn't want to eat the void. So really the only good card with this in the Clog decks is a debris rock. Not that big of a deal. We got Undead Beard saying, I could see this card bringing back Thanos, Airshim, or just basic Loki blob type decks. Helps with not clogging up all the stones early, but I don't think it copies text after merging, so maybe not. We'll need an armor though for sure. So a couple things here. Yes, with Thanos, it will eat the stones, and sometimes those do clog up your lanes, but also Thanos decks like to run Mockingbird, sometimes called Obsidian, and sometimes even Blue Marvel. To make your stones bigger and actually make them not just like annoying things that are getting in your way of the big stuff. So at first, I did think about Thanos too. I'm not really sold on it though. Or I am sold on it, but it's just going to be a version that doesn't have Mockingbird and just looks different than what we're used to now. Now as far as Airshim goes, so when this absorbs cards, it's not going to absorb the text. We'll touch on that later in the good and bad section, but basically it just takes the power and puts it on Strange Supreme. So I think actually usually you wouldn't want this in an Airshim deck because most cards have an effect that is persistent, either ongoing or just straight up text, or on reveal. And with on reveal, sure, this would be fine with on reveal cards, Strange Supreme that is. But with ongoings and just like the stagnant ones like Thena, for example, you don't want those to merge. So I think it's going to be a little bit more awkward in like Airshim and Loki type decks than it seems. We got Sasha saying, Snap Vor confirmed. If you don't know what Vor is, it's short for vorophilia. Close enough. Basically, it's the erotic desire to be consumed by or to personally consume another person or creature, or it's an erotic attraction to the process of just eating in general. We all know now something about Sasha that we didn't know before, and I didn't care to know, but thank you. Got Shaned Bunting saying he will be the first card of the season to get nerfed. They will make him only merge with cards at his location. I give it a month. Maybe. The card does seem good. Now that the more I think about it, the more I think it's a little bit more awkward than it seems because of all the Airshim non-combo type stuff. But this card is certainly going to get like really big in most games when he's played on turn 2. You got Chris Blake saying, who doesn't love Pac-Man?
I understood that reference.
Got Adam saying, best card of the season. Maybe. Hydra Stomper does actually seem pretty easy to get really big. But maybe, probably, sure. And finally, we got Kurgan, basically touching on what I was talking about earlier with Airshim. We'll get tested in Nissan Airshim decks, but end up a disappointment for eating the wrong cards. Yeah. Could have potential in a creature generator deck with Squirrels, Broodlings, and Doombots. I think that's more likely, and also maybe in like a low to the ground collector style deck. But let's take a look at the good and the bad of this card in a little bit more detail. All right, on the good and the bad, the first thing here, potential power, 12. Well, really, 10. If you play this on turn 2, it could be a 10 power card pretty easily. But if you play Magic, it could be 12 power. But basically, it's a 2 energy card that's going to get potentially up to 12 power, more than likely like 6 to 10 on any given game. Still, on the low end, really good. On the high end, better than some 5 and 6 drops. Second thing here, surprisingly flexible. We've pretty much already touched on this, but at first glance, well, at least for me, at first glance, I was like, oh, so like Sentinel collector type cards. But then I was like, oh no, stones, debris rocks, generated cards from Airshim. So yeah, there's so many different cards in this game that either create a token or create a card or do something that actively interacts with Strange Supreme. Third thing here, provides value, not just power. So I'm going to be perfectly honest here. When I wrote this, I don't remember what the fuck I was talking about. So we're going to move on to the next thing. Doesn't care about location. One of the hot takes actually mentioned this. This eats a card at any location. So if you need to play a created card somewhere else, or you have cards in a different location, it doesn't matter. Strange gonna eat them. On to the bad side. There's not really much other than the awkward interactions we've talked about already. I won't touch on those again, but snap packs. They're coming out in like 7 days. So you really want to spend 6k tokens or 4 keys on a card that might be cheaper in like 7 days? Probably not. Second thing here, doesn't absorb text. Basically, this does not function like Agni and Hulkbuster. So if you absorb a claw, you ain't getting that +7 power from the claw anymore. All right, let's take a look at some example decks. All right, onto the example deck list. So each of these are basically, I didn't make something that I thought was going to be super good with it. I just made the decks that people have been talking about when they saw this card. The first thing here, Thanos, it absorbs the stones, but since we're absorbing the stones, Mockingbird's not that great, so we have Sasquatch in that place. And then we have Professor X, because I thought it'd be cute to put a Strange Supreme in a Professor X lane. Probably gonna win that lane. All right, next deck here is that low to the ground Devil Dino collector deck I was talking about. I mean, it's just gonna eat Sentinels and your Snow Guard things. Not bad. I mean, it's not gonna, this is not gonna be like the best card in the deck, but it is gonna be a 2-drop that's probably gonna be bigger than your collector. But yeah, so it'll work out in like a deck like this. It won't be busted there, but it'll work. And the last thing here is Airshim. Maybe. I can't really make judgments on Strange Supreme with like Airshim decks until we actually get our hands on it and try it and see if it's really that weird or that much of a downside that it doesn't absorb texts as well. Under recommendations. Recommendation on Dark Treasures, Stretch Supreme, better resources. I don't know, I'm torn. Snap packs are coming. They're apparently much better value than what we have now. So if this card is good and you don't get it because you're waiting for snap packs, you're going to be the Squidward meme. But I also can't tell you to go out and spend resources on this card, no matter how good it is, because I don't know your finances, I don't know your card collection, I don't know your lifestyle, I don't know if you do too much heroin, you don't have any extra cash lying around. I don't fucking know. Maybe you do heroin and spend too much money on OnlyFans. That's fine if that's what you like to do. But the point is, I don't know anything about you, so I can't really tell you whether or not to like save a little bit and wait until snap packs come out or not. So make up your own mind here, honestly. But I will say, if you are a newer player, you don't really have like a full Series 3 complete, full Series 4 complete even, maybe wait till the snap packs come out, because that I can definitely say you should probably wait. If you have the resources to get Strange Supreme now and you're a newer player, don't get it now. Just wait 7 days to get some extra stuff as well. That's it. Thanks for watching. Don't do heroin. Bye.